Stacey Plastic, who represents the Virgin Islands, and just her whole like side eye neck roll. She was like,
that photo of Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, and AOC with Congresswoman Pressley as a side eye. I've just been like, fuck are these people doing?
I love that picture too, because I actually appeared before that same committee 3 years ago, and it was a completely different looking group, so that was awesome. But I will say, something happens every day, but even yesterday, for any of you who saw Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, the youngest African American woman ever to go to Congress from Illinois, amazing, questioning Secretary Nielsen, who seemed to be completely unprepared for the questions about the impact of family separation on children, which is inexcusable. Anyway, she's a heroine. She's amazing.
Okay, Ocasio-Cortez, her power pose is red lipstick and hoops. What's your power pose?
We're marching boots every day, every way. We're marching.
Yes.
Red lipstick, freshly trimmed bangs.
my red shoes and something that's wrapped dress or wrap skirt.
Whose shoulders are you all standing on?
So I shared this last night. My birthday is tomorrow, so I share my birthday with International Women's Day. So I stand because I'm the great-granddaughter of Carrie Lee Dickens. She was born in 1895 and died shy of her 100th birthday. I am a 4G, so I had an opportunity to grow up with my grandmother, my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. So they are who shaped the work that I do today. Very strong black women, from my great-grandmother who had literally no rights, no right to vote, couldn't own property, had little career opportunities, yet and still she envisioned a world for her great-grandchildren that didn't have glass ceilings or for me to be confined by walls or doors.
I have framed on the wall of my apartment a photo of Congresswoman Bella Abzug, who was one of the congresswomen from New York, a very petite, feisty Jewish lady who wore crazy hats and was one of the first women to say, a woman's place is in the House of Representatives. She is incredible and undercovered in history. That's very thank you.
Yes.
So I guess I have to say, my mother, Ann Richards, she was the first woman elected in her own right governor of the state of Texas, and at the time it was she was a unicorn. It was unheard of, and so there is, she's left us now, but believe me, there is nothing that she's looking down on, and looking at all these women going into office, finally getting power, and so thank you, Mom, for getting the ball rolling.
And what is your personal theme song? What's the song that you walk into the stage?
Good as Hell by Lizzo.
That's good. Girl on Fire, Alicia Keys.
I struggled with that question. So I am a show tune girl. So I will say something that always inspires me is Somewhere Over the Rainbow, because it allows me to dream what's next.
And then the final question, and then you will pass. Stacey Abrams, all of a sudden we found out that she also goes by Selena Montgomery because one of her hobbies is to write romantic novels. Like that, she also writes novels. So what is your way to disconnect?
I read romance novels. I shovel them into my brain. They're so soothing.
Shameful, I love my couch.
Yeah, really embarrassing, but I'm a pie baker, and making the perfect pie crust is sort of what I live to do.
I love these facts. I love this.
And so now let's get into some of the questions. So the first one is, again, this is called In Charge Women. So the first thing that comes to mind is power. The 116th Congress looks very different. There's more women elected than ever before, more women of color than ever before, more queer voices. So how do you feel when you see that power is changing? How can you define that?
So it is the 50th anniversary of Shirley Chisholm's being sworn into Congress. And the full circle moment is it took 50 years, but we see a steady gain in black women running, winning, and leading. Although we celebrate that, Black women are still severely underrepresented and underserved in this democracy. That being said, I think more women, and particularly women of color, and from our lens with higher heights for Black women, is that we're stepping into our power in a way that is going to shape our democracy. We lead differently, right? And our power shows up differently. So we have to create the environment for Black women to run, win, and lead, so that when we are sitting at decision-making tables and speaking truth to power, that people can accept, or that the environment allows the way we lead to at least be accepting and not shut down. So I'm excited about this. Why I'm excited about the 5 new Black women in Congress is not just because they're Black women and they look like my godchildren, goddaughters, but more importantly, we sent a nurse, a teacher, a city council member who is a sexual assault survivor, a state legislator who is a Somalian refugee, and a mother of a slain Black boy. So they're bringing their experiences to the decision-making tables in a way that I think will shape the debate, and more importantly, shape and advance policies that will not only help Black women and our families, but our communities in this nation.
Do you remember in that first 2 weeks or so when Congress came into session and you were on Instagram and you saw AOC or Rashida Tlaib or Ayanna Pressley's Instagram stories, and they were like, look at the statue in the Capitol, it's like being at Hogwarts. That's what I would feel like if I was in Congress. And for the first time, I could see women who, I'm 29 years old, women my age, who have my life experience, who are single, who are partnered, who are queer, who are coming at this from a place of never having been admitted into these halls of power and experiencing it the way that me and my friends would. And it was so, it like almost moved me to tears because I had never really thought of it. I mean, my whole job is to get people to run for office. That's what Run for Something does. We recruit young people to run specifically for local office. But until 2018 election, I had never really understood how it would feel to actually see them do it and to vote on legislation. We have this woman in Nebraska who introduced a bill to ban revenge porn. We have a woman in Tennessee who introduced a bill to make feminine hygiene products available for incarcerated women. These are the kinds of conversations that wouldn't be happening unless women with real lived experience were in the room in the first place. And it's just, it like moves me to tears.
So both what Glenda and Amanda do is so important because we're finally getting more representation, although I want to also echo what you said, Glenda. Even though we've made such progress, the United States actually ranks 103rd in the world in women's representation, right behind Indonesia, okay? So if you think about, we've come a long way, we have a long way to go. But I think the other piece, though, that to me, we're beginning to see what liberation and women's equality looks like, but we're not there yet. I think the other piece that's important is there are millions of women in this country who probably aren't going to get to run for office, or they're not going to run for office, but they're doing everything else. They are fueling the campaigns, they're the volunteers, they're the phone makers, they're the door knockers. And in fact, this year, this last cycle, women contributed $100 million more to candidates and campaigns than they did the year Hillary Clinton ran for president. So just think about the economic grassroots power that women have. And then look at the fact that in November, 54% of the voters were women, all right? Yes. So I'm just here to say to you, even if you're not going to run for office, if 54% of the voters are women in 2020, we are going to completely change the direction of the United States of America. And that's something that we know.